The whole idea of the project, that I wanted to do it for only one reason: to bring people for a moment, just a moment, a fraction of a second, to remember something that they may have forgotten about love or about relation. I would be so grateful if people got that message.
How long did it take you to put the film together? What kind of software was used in the production? Is it better to spend $200,000 going to school, or is it better to, buy a crazy computer rig, get the software, and then spend 2 years learning on your own through lynda.com, for example?
I'll share the secret ingredient of my cinematography. If you don't enjoy what you do, if you don't love it, seriously.
If you don't like what you do, then you will quit. If you like what you do and you don't make money, you won't necessarily quit because you love what you do.
At some point, my father said, I wash my hands from you.
Welcome to Mad Artist Publishing, the place to be for short films, VFX, animated shorts, and interviews with directors and animators that create them.
Don't matter if the road is long. Don't matter if it's steep. Don't matter if the moon is gone and the darkness is complete. Don't matter if we lose our way. It's written that we'll meet. At least that's what I heard you say. 1,000 kisses deep. I know you had to lie to me. I know you had to cheat. When all our vital interests lay. 1,000 kisses deep.
What's going on, guys? Welcome to Mad Artist Publishing. I'm your host, Marcin Migdal, and today we welcome another film director, this time of the film called TAVOLSAG. The director's name is Mohammed Malak, and we're going to be talking to him about the film, his experience in the industry, what it takes to be a film director, and how he got about making the film. If you haven't seen the film already, look in the description. So without further ado, welcome Mohammed, and let's get started.
Nice to meet you, and thank you for this interview.
Tell me about your childhood and how you got into the industry.
I knew exactly what I wanted to do since I was 9. I wanted to do this. I wanted to do the effects. I wanted to do these short films.
And where were you born?
I was born and raised in Jordan. I was also going to Lebanon because my mom is Lebanese. So I was in between Jordan and Lebanon. And by 2006, I moved to Qatar, where I started working with Al Jazeera in the same field, but for news, creating motion graphics.
Did you take drawing in high school? What was your transition into this industry? Because a lot of people who watch this are young kids who want to get into this industry. They want to be illustrators, animators, modelers, VFX artists, what have you. So a lot of them are wondering, what sort of skills do I need to be in this industry? Am I good enough?
Well, I suck in painting and drawing.
Okay.
I'm not good at it, but I'm good in layout and cinematography. And that's what I slowly started to understand along the way. When I was 9, I was 9 and watching all these movies. And for example, I was watching The Mask, and I was fascinated by how they made these movies. I was more interested in the making of than the movie itself.
Look, Ma, I'm roadkill.
Unfortunately, in Jordan at that time, the internet was not really, spread. There was a lot of internet cafes, so I used to spend a lot of time trying to look and find the answers. I believe when I was 13 or 14, there was Micromedia Flash.
That was my first thing to do, animation.
Exactly. So I started with that, knowing nothing. I didn't even understand what frame rate is, or timeline is, or what movie clip is.
Would you say that you have a good imagination? Because you said you're not good in drawing, painting, and you like them, but do you require an imagination, I guess, to be a cinematographer?
I'll share the secret ingredient of my cinematography. Basically, I was watching movies and taking snapshots. I was going to print these snapshots and try to analyze how these shots were taken. So I had a small Zenith camera with a lens, and I was practicing on that at home, understanding how film works and understanding all these technical aspects and how you can create a good depth of field. These technical parts were essential for any photographer or cinematographer.
Oh, can you name a couple of films that you were trying to analyze?
I still do have the photos. Actually, it was Godfather, Godfather 3. So this is my box of shame. All these.
So these are the items that you took when you were 16, analyzing self-learning cinematography.
Absolutely. For example, Spider-Man and some other movies. Looking at the minimalism of the style, some of the posters.
Basic too.
Batman. So there was a lot of these cinematography that I loved.
Yeah.
So slowly I started to understand what direction I'm going into. This was Cinderella Man.
Yeah.
And Superman.
Okay.
Crash.
Well, Crash is a good one.
So all these stuff, I was looking at it and trying to imitate this kind of effect. So I slowly started to learn how it's made and how it's done.
So in essence, you're reverse engineering something.
At that point, there was no help. Nobody was able to give me the information I needed. The mentality of people sometimes they tell you that they're afraid to tell you something, that fearing that you might steal their thunder or steal their ideas and stuff. So slowly start taking photos like these.
Oh, so now these are your photos?
Yes.
Okay. And are these retouched or are these just straight photos?
No, this is straight photo from the film.
Okay. Tell me about the concept and how the idea started for this film.
I was in a small town in eastern Poland. It's called Białystok. I was going there to meet friends. We had a small project. It's the company called Evermotion. They're a 3D company. They do 3D models and so on. I was at the hotel that day, and I was just scribbling some ideas on the Mac. Put it on the top of the screen. Dance on water, and I wrote something like redemption and stuff like that. So these ideas stayed there for 2 years, and until the moment came, like when I hear the track from Arrival of the Birds by the Cinematic Orchestra.
Okay.
And it seemed that commercial for Google Street ad, and I was like, it clicked in my head. I said, this is the music. This is what I should start with. And a few days later, Ryan Woodward posted the sketch animation he did, and I was like, this is it. This is what I wanted to do.
So you're referring to the short film called The Thought of You, right? Which we actually featured on our channel. Yeah, very beautiful short.
I watch the stars from my windowsill.
I spoke with Kori Wakamatsu, the one who choreographed the dance for Ryan. We were supposed to go do motion capture in Utah. But unfortunately, she got international students coming across, and she didn't manage to do this project. So I was thinking of the next place. This was completely paid by us, so I just wanted to make sure we can get something, affordable and good at the same time. So I remember that there's Digic Motion. I've contacted Esther Bohos. She's a friend of mine now.
Yeah, I know Esther too. Yeah.
You do?
I do. Yeah. We were writing articles for them for Huffington Post. Yeah.
She was my colleague for almost 3 years at the same company. I was working at Al Jazeera back then. Before I contacted Esther and told her about the concept. We sent her the proof of the concept, what we had in mind. And she said, sure, we can accommodate you. She liked the idea, and Alex Rapp, the owner, also agreed as well. So, yeah, I Googled choreography dancers in Budapest, and the first one was Debo Dance. I called the owner. His name is Foldy Biela. And I told him about what I want to do, and he said, yeah, fine. Would 15 January 2013 would be good for you? I said, yes, of course, because it was the end of the year of 2012. And we went there. There was a team from Evermotion who came, 3 guys. Another guy from Germany, the character artist from Ukraine, the FX artist who also came from Taiwan. Just on they came on their own, you know. And I was explaining what we're going to do to these dancers, because they are theater and stage dancers. They don't do VFX and stuff like that.
But did you have any storyboards or any previs to show them?
Yes, we had the previs from, of course, we used Ryan's Woodward Thought of You as a reference for them, to see how just to bring the idea more closer to understanding for them.
What was it like to manage the dancers themselves during the motion capture?
The rehearsal every day for 5 days, for 2 hours, just keeping on doing these. I sent you one of these footage, as well as the end title sequence, and I thought it would be nice that, you know, we could do a dance, like a slow motion dance, while we have close-ups and show the names of everybody who worked on this project. And Foldy was very kind to allow me to direct these dancers and give the choreography needed for that part.
Right.
And he guided me to how to for some terms of dancing.
Right.
Because a year before, I was doing a research on the choreography, contemporary dance. So I had to watch a lot of stuff like that to understand what can be done.
So you didn't just want to make a shot-for-shot film based on Ryan Woodward's film? Because it's very, very similar, but it's in 3D space.
Ryan Woodward's film was very emotional and very captivating, and it was beautiful on its own. I mean, you can't just copy that. What I thought, that if we bring a more three-dimensional element to it, giving the smoke a bit of realism to it, have more close-ups or different angles and some sort of a stage or a limbo or something like that, it would be nice. I said, yeah, we should do that exactly the same, because the dance was perfect. I spoke to Corey, the original choreographer, to, you know, take her blessing on this.
So how long did it take you to put the film together?
Took 1 month, only 1 month, to put all these materials together to make this whole film ready. But it took 5 years just to get all these assets, you know, rendered and done and perfect for this preview.
What was the message or the feeling that you wanted the audience to get from your film?
The whole idea of the project, that I wanted to do it for only one reason: to bring people for a moment, just a moment, a fraction of a second, to remember something that they may have forgotten about love or about relation. I would be so grateful if people got that message. And it's funny that different people perceive things in different ways. Everybody who watched that film was somehow united in that thought form. It's about love. It's about relation. It made them remember something that they had in the past, bad feelings, breakups, you know, falling in love, and so on and so on. And what kept me moving on this project for 5 years, that the people who worked with me on this project, they were involved on their own time. I mean, they were busy people working for a game company, and, you know, game companies are nightmares. So they don't have time to do anything. But these guys were committed with me to do simulations and to do the effects and so on. So also without them, I couldn't have done that.
How was the motion capture handled at Digi Pictures?
The dancers had this special suit, and we had to do a whole motion capture one take. This was a great news for the simulation artist, Arthur Malchik, because the clothes simulation and the hair simulation, I kept insisting that it has to be one take. It has to be one take. So you need to simulate the whole thing. You had to find a way to use a proper simulation software and hair software and so on.
Can you tell me how you actually managed to get this thing off the ground and where you found the funding for the 5 years to, I guess, produce this? Did you do anything else on the side, or was this your primary project?
Because I had a day job. I was working at Al Jazeera Network. I was executive producer for the network branding. The funding was coming only from me. And
Wow.
Over the 5 years, we paid around $60,000 for this to be done.
But then you had additional, I guess, donors, like software companies, licenses, and all that. What kind of software was used in the production? We're talking the previs, and then for post-production and compositing.
V-Ray was very gracious to provide a license for 5 years for this animation. Ifir or Matrix from France for the hair simulation, as well as Autodesk for the 3D Max software. That then composed it on Nuke and then brought to After Effects, and then the editing was done on Sony Vegas.
I love Sony Vegas. The workflow is so much faster.
It's amazing. Yeah. I love it. Yeah, without these companies sort of sponsored the licenses only, but all the money was just only coming from us. Again, sometimes it works about who you know in the industry. I mean, I had this friend in Cash Group for V-Ray. His name is Javid. And I mean, without him, he couldn't have provided the license. And same with Kalina Panteliva. She is a 3D specialist. She helped with the setting up the render, so it does not consume a lot of time, because they are the company who created the plugin V-Ray. So without which, I mean, they know all the ins and out of that.
Can you explain what V-Ray is to anybody who doesn't know?
Yeah, of course. V-Ray is a plugin installed for 3D Max as a render engine. It gives you an accurate lighting and accurate GI, global illumination, and a proper reflections and a proper realism. Let's say make a bottle like this.
Just don't show the logo of Pepsi.
I didn't. If you want to make this bottle and you make it look properly realistic, you need to use one of these plugins.
Okay.
So V-Ray was my choice, and we had an idea that we could perhaps do environment, but the environment didn't really work, because somehow it stole the idea of keeping the focus on the actors and the dance. So at the end, we removed the environment and the backgrounds and everything, just kept it dark and volumetric lights. So my part for that aspect was the cinematography and the editing and the compositing of this. Of course, Slavomir Milanovsky is the guy who did the smoke effects and was able to take the raw rendered material and composite that with the smoke, because there was these moments when the girl transforms to smoke. So he was in charge of that part, and it wasn't easy on his side.
Okay, so with all this knowledge and now your experience, what would you say are the top 3 characteristics that could make up a good, I guess, CGI artist or a cinematographer?
Just don't give up and don't listen to people around you. For some people, it's not doable, but it might be different for you. They failed in it. It doesn't mean that you will fail.
Often people will act negatively towards you, especially close people like your friends and relatives, because they don't want you to fail because they're scared for you. Sometimes it's more so that maybe they knew somebody who failed, and then you're their friend or you're their family member, so they just don't want you to fail, so they would just tell you bad, negative things about it.
That's true. I mean, my family was against it until
You proved them wrong.
Until I was, yeah, exactly. Until I was 20, and they didn't understand what I wanted to do, and I couldn't express exactly what I wanted to do. You have to see it for yourself to understand it. And at some point, my father said, "I wash my hands from you."
Oh, classic. Okay.
Do it for love. Do it exactly for love. Because if you don't enjoy what you do, if you don't love it, seriously, there will be no taste to what you do ever.
And not only that, if you don't like what you do, then you will quit. If you like what you do and you don't make money, you won't necessarily quit because you love what you do, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I don't know about you, but you know, like when I'm finished my work, I still go back and I still do, say, personal videos or personal projects in animation or design because I actually do that. So I'll continue to do that for free. Whereas people usually who hate their jobs, they come home and they want to watch TV, forget what they did because they hated their entire day.
This quote I kept repeating to myself for the past few days. It's from Robin Williams, and he said, "You've got to be crazy, because it's too late to be sane. It's too late."
So with the success of this film, I guess you started a CG studio called SyntaxCGI?
Now, SyntaxCGI started it from way back. I was doing the motion graphics stuff, and after this movie, or before this movie, there was another short film which was done for Al Jazeera about their it was their 15 years anniversary, I believe. Yeah. After that movie, I realized that I can do some. I can do this. You know, I realized I can do short films, and that's what made it happen to me. I mean, that's what it started from.
What is it that you're working on now? Are you working on any projects or?
We're doing a project called Redemption, and Redemption is basically about the existence of us. The idea of that movie is that from anyone, a believer or non-believer in God, or atheist, or whatever, from any perspective, you will perceive it in the same way it's meant to be received. And this is the tough part in this project, because it's about a man who's created from clay and walks on a path. And as he walks in this path, he gets hit with something violent hits him.
Obstacle.
But he doesn't see it. He doesn't see it. The obstacles of life, yes. And every time he gets hit, his body is cracked. The shell cracks, and light leaks from it, not blood, because the idea that we are all created from light. The soul is love and light, and so on. This thing repeats 3 times, and with every time he gets hit, it's a relentless event that keep happening to you. So the idea that whatever pain that you experience, it's basically good for you. It's trying to put you on the right track, trying to wake you up, trying to make you aware of something. It doesn't mean that it's bad. There's a voice in the distance asking a question. The question is, what's your deepest fear? Later on, another voice, a warm voice, says, our deepest fear is that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear, we are powerful beyond measure. You realize that basically all these voices is him. It's his consciousness. That's when he loses completely that shell and he becomes invincible. And that's the point where you are actually freed of all the nonsense around you. That's the concept of this movie. You've got your past experiences that you don't remember, because each lifetime you have is a different experience. I believe we don't reincarnate. I believe we incarnate. Because
What? You confused me there.
For me, what I believe, and from my experience, is that no one ever dies. And it's that you finish your life experience, you're done with this experience. Now you have to send another part of you to experience something, to complete the puzzle, to complete the circle of your own experience. A soul is like a piece of paper, let's say. Split it in half and keep splitting into pieces, and you have multiple pieces. At the same time, it's from the same origin. One piece of paper. each piece of paper, let's say, it goes into a different experience to get the maximum of human consciousness. And when you reach that potential, and when you reach that, you move on into a different, I don't know what it is, a different stage of being.
What you're saying is kind of hand in hand with the idea of what Elon Musk says, is that there's a 1 in a billion chance that we're in a simulation.
Yes.
In Canada, because I'm in Canada, marijuana is legal. Okay, so I'm gonna preface by saying this. So I had some really good edibles, because when I was in that state, the way I looked at it was an error in code. So imagine there's a video game playing and we're in a video game. I take this marijuana and all of a sudden I screw up the code in the game.
So you open the hatch.
Exactly. So for a second there, I, as the avatar, have my own free will.
That's exactly what Tom Campbell said.
I don't know who Tom Campbell is.
Quantum mechanics, and also neuroscience and several other things, biology as well, have been pointing toward this being an information-based reality. The simpler thing is likely to be true. If something is usually complex, and if it's a fundamental thing, then it's probably not true. The fewer assumptions, this is one of Einstein's quotes, the aim of all physics, he said, was to explain the largest number of facts with the fewest number of assumptions.
Thomas Campbell is a physicist. He wrote a book called My Big Toe, referring to the Big Bang Theory.
Where did that ball of plasma come from that was the Big Bang that created our universe? Couldn't come from our universe because our universe didn't exist yet. It had to pre-exist our universe. But if our universe is everything there is, then that's a logical problem. How did that ball of plasma under that high temperature and pressure get there? Big paradox.
He has a lot of lectures and a lot of stuff.
So I'm right.
There were paradoxes about basic physics, like where does time come from? Where does mass come from? Where does gravity come from? Where does spin come from? Where does charge come from? All the fundamentals of physics and all the rest of physics is based on those basic quantities, and physicists have no idea where any of them come from. They're totally non-causal. An experiment was done called the double slit experiment. That experiment said that this reality cannot be materialistic. It is not a realist reality. And there wasn't any way really to escape that conclusion.
I've had many out-of-body experiences, let's say.
What's your craziest one? I want to know your craziest out-of-body experience.
My dreams is like as if I'm watching a movie. And
do you take any drugs or any?
No, this is the thing. This is the thing. This experience, what I'm about going to tell you, is that it changed me completely. That was literally like watching a film about something happening. I was in the back seat of a car, and there was a woman sitting next to me. And suddenly I started telling to the driver to stop the car. I shouted. We get out of the car. The environment is a desert. But it's a polygon desert, it's a 3D desert. There was a track for a train, a platform. So I said to this woman, hold on, let me just go across this track and see what's going on. And I go to that platform, and suddenly I see this like a corner building, a small one, like a small box. There's, 2 doors, one here and one here, okay? And from this door, it opens, and I see someone, you see a figure. And he had this cape, the Gothic style, this with a hat.
Yeah.
And as he put it on and he started passing the track, he disappears. After that, the girl came in, and she opened the other door. And the other door, it opened into a different view. It didn't make sense. It was so windy, and there was a train coming from afar. And she looked at me and she started repeating, I don't want to go back to that life again. I didn't want to go back to that life again. She kept saying that over and over and over. And this is like in my head, okay, why you're saying that? And suddenly I came to this realization that in the other door, if I want to know what happened to her, I have to go through this door. But there's these rules. It was like a game. Seriously, I saw like a set of rules that I have to agree on. And it said that in this part, you have to go in this life and live it and believe it. and fall in love and everything, and you will forget about this part, but you will come back. And when you come back, you will remember everything. So I don't really remember exactly what happened after that, but I remember when I came back. I came back with a feeling of love, of somebody, to somebody. And
You mean this is when you woke up?
I'm still there. And I realized that why she was telling me that she doesn't want to go back to that life again, because obviously she had a bad experience, bad life.
Right.
But this is the twist. On that train which is coming, there's the person you loved in that life. You will know them, but they will not know you. And the train arrives, I step in, I see that person, and that's the moment I came back, slapped into my body. I had no idea what it meant till 7 years later. I started reading a few years ago about these spiritual stories of other people and life contracts and this.
Life contract?
Everybody who's born, they have to take a life chart. You plan what you are going to experience in this life, the people you're going to meet, the people who's going to be your parents, the ones who's going to hurt you, the ones who's going to love you.
So this all happens and it's predetermined before you're even born?
Yes.
But where?
You decide on it.
But why would anybody consent to a chart that would make you have a bad life?
The conscious that you have now is different than the conscious you have there. There you have a much more higher understanding of what's going on. And the whole idea of life is to experience love or experience emotion. That's the whole idea of it.
And it doesn't matter what type of emotion it is, as long as it's an emotion.
So you have to reach the maximum limit of an emotion a human being can take. And then from there, that's it, where you can complete your spiritual journey, let's say.
Wow, this is so close to what I was thinking. I went on this little retreat with a bunch of my friends and random strangers, and we were sitting around the fire, and this is maybe 2 weeks after my experience, and I asked, what is everybody's definition of heaven? And I said, well, I think that we're in a video game, and when you take some drugs, that screws up the avatar, so the avatar control goes to the bathroom or something, waits for the game to reset.
Yeah, your conscious goes to witness protection plan.
Whatever. But then you play the game the best that you can, and then when you die, then you restart and you respawn, basically. But how do you explain people who are homeless and people who, have a bad life? That's probably because they had an amazing life avatar the previous level. They did so well that they wanted to experience something differently. Mark Zuckerberg or Steve Jobs is who they are in this lifetime. And this is in fact a video game. When they pass, maybe they want to restart the level as somebody on a lower scale so they can experience those emotions and see if they can make it, right? That was my theory.
Your theory is accurate, and to make it more clear, it talks about karma, let's say. When you're born homeless, or let's say with a certain defect, or they committed suicide or something like that, and they have to go again and complete that lifetime. That's why these certain things happen. As long as you are able to think it, it's possible. Whatever it is, it's just we don't know how to do that yet, maybe. And I'll give you an example. Let's say you go to 100 years back and say, you will have a device and communicate with them and see them. They will look at you and say, are you nuts?
Yeah.
Apply this concept to this and you will see how this whole universe functions.
What a deviation from the subject of animation.
It's not a deviation. This is the whole idea about redemption movie.
Are you funding this yourself, or do you have sponsors as well?
Myself and a partner of mine. His name is Michał Kredishko, and he owns the Mocap game. It's a motion capture company.
Okay.
And which we'll be doing the motion capture together.
You're based in Poland, right now?
Yeah, we are in Ksaveru.
Have you guys worked with Platage?
Yeah. Jarek is a dear friend of mine. He's the CEO of
Platage Image, yeah.
I know Baginski and Marcin Migdal. Most of the people at Platage I know.
So if you had to give some advice to, first, young people out there who want to get into this industry in any capacity, what would that be?
Don't be afraid that if you go knock on someone's door, that may turn you down. You'll be surprised how people can be decent and how they would help you.
What do you think is a better way to do it? Is it better to spend $200,000 going to school, or is it better to, buy a crazy computer rig, get the software, and then spend 2 years learning on your own through lynda.com, for example?
Now, every single piece of information is available for you. There's YouTube, there is a lot of blogs, there's a lot of websites that can give you lessons and lectures or whatever. University would not teach you exactly what you want to learn. University gives you only the fundamental and theories.
Yeah.
But what you actually want to learn is completely different. I prefer to go to online courses or online stuff and learn on your own.
Like I said, there's plenty of them out there, depending on the type of skill set you want to learn, from VFX to animation to modeling. In terms of software, I'm going to suggest ZBrush, Pixelogic. That seems to be a pretty big thing right now, especially if you guys want to get into modeling. So I would say start off with ZBrush. In terms of softwares to get people started these days, what would you suggest?
In each software, you're going to create a sphere. It's the same. It's like the same with editing software.
Yeah.
The difference between Apple Final Cut or Avid or Vegas is the same. It's about what you are comfortable with.
When is Redemption going to be released?
By the end of 2020.
Have you considered doing any crowdfunding campaigns to help you raising money?
I'd love to, but I don't know how to do that.
Oh man, we could totally help you with that. So if any of you guys are watching and you are a filmmaker, reach out to us at matterartistpublishing@gmail.com, and we do help promote Kickstarter campaign.
That's great. Yeah.
So
I'm focused mostly on the art and the production.
All right, so thank you guys so much for tuning in, and thank you to Mohammed Malak. If you guys want to take a look at more of his stuff, head on over to syntaxcgi.com. Is that what it is?
That's right.
Right. And we're also going to leave a description to some of the artists and CG artists that he's mentioned. So you've probably seen overlays with them. And as always, I hope you guys learned something. If you haven't, make sure you go and watch the other videos. Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure you click like, share, and subscribe. And I guess we'll see you in the next one. Oh, wait, he's got one more thing. What's
one more thing? All the files for this TAVOLSAG movie, I mentioned the simulation files, the 3D Max files, the model, the whole movie basically is available to be downloaded. And there is also the raw motion capture data, which is basically only the skeleton, which you can apply to any body you want. The only thing that they have to mention the guys who worked on it.
Very cool. All right, guys. So there you have it. Look in the description for all the stuff. Thank you, guys. And thank you so much. And then I guess that's it.
Thank you.